Do it.
So they can hear us now, and then now they can see us even.
Yeah, man, I've spent so much effort putting my cool new Rocketeer statue, and now the mic's just covering it. But there he is.
Yeah, that's
He's
fine.
flying.
This is good.
This is
So
great.
it's a beautiful statue.
Yeah, now I can see.
I mean,
More
you
of a
literally
more of a
just put that
toy.
mic arm. You just put that mic arm up, so it's like, I think you'll have chances to reorganize this in the future.
I'm gonna get my stand back from AJ, and that will be better.
Okay, so you know what? Not this time. Next time, because your camera keeps autofocusing. There's a way I just turn off autofocus on my webcams. We'll do that next week. But
I can figure that out right now. Probably. It's on
yeah, if you want,
Synapse, right?
Yeah. I mean, yes, yes. So if you have the Razer Synapse thing, just turn off autofocus. Just set it up because you're always going to be sitting the same distance from it. So,
there it has been done.
Okay, but now you have to manually focus it. So there should be a slider somewhere.
Ooh, okay, man, I got this. I'm not afraid.
He's on it.
You.
He's on it. Everybody.
I'm not afraid.
Okay, so how do we sound? We sound good, everybody. Like you guys can hear us, and if I play the music, does that sound good? Hang on, me.
I have to turn my camera off for a second. I think. 1 second.
Oh, there he goes. Goodbye, Mike.
Goodbye.
Oh yeah, so thank you, Sherlink. Cyril. I'm not sure how to say your name. I'm sorry, but yeah, I had Joey Chu, the first person to buy a PlayStation 4 and a PlayStation 4 Pro in the world, or at least in the United States. I texted him and said, "Hey, can you go to the New York Nintendo World Store for me and get me one of these, and I'll pay you back and just ship it to me." And he went and got it for me. And I'm like, "Is it extra large, kind of like an athletic fit?" And he's like, No, it's fine. It'll be fine on you. And it's a little snug because he's a skinny man.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
All right, I think this is as good as you're gonna get for today. I can mess around with this more, but
no,
webcam.
This is fine. Okay. So then I just gotta hit that, and then I'm gonna hit the music, and then I go into the thing. Okay, you ready, Mike?
Mike's ready.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3. It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this. This is the Games Beat Sides podcast. It's the podcast where we decide everything in the world of games, so you don't have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeffrey Grubb. Mike, can you not hear me?
I can hear you. Usually you say, and with me is...
With me is, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm thrown off because I can't tell.
Wow.
I can't. You're right. No, you're right. It's my fault.
Silence. Oh my gosh. You're really thrown off about that Elden Ring thing. Jeez, get over it.
Oh man. Yeah, but my bad. I couldn't tell because I'm like, is the music working well or not? I can't No,
you need to work on your fade out skills, but it was working.
Okay, so yeah, there wasn't any like weird dropouts or anything. Okay. The song sounded weird. So you know what, Pablo? I think it's NVIDIA Broadcast is like getting crossed. I wouldn't be able to use NVIDIA Broadcast and do this through my mic. Okay, I'll have to figure this out in the future. So that's a little project I'm gonna have to work on.
X-Master Key, thank you for the $4 Canadian. He just wanted to say that he's super excited for Halo Infinite now, and I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of news this week. Some games. Obviously, Cyberpunk came out. We'll talk about.
Are you sure it came out?
It is available for purchase, I think is what I can legally say about that game. Yeah, it's definitely still needs some time in the oven for sure. First,
the intro just keeps getting better.
Well, yeah, listen. Could you guys hear my kids now? Is that what's happening?
Yes.
Oh, God. All right. You know what?
It's all right.
It's noise removal is at maximum. So this is what we're doing.
Well, I mean, the child was screaming, so I think now it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, she's screaming, but also turning the lights off and on. So this is just a really good. You're right. This is the best intro we've ever done, Mike.
Your life's a mess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is pandemic time. This is where we live now. There's two of them yelling at me. You can get more from me and Mike at gamesbeat.com. If you have something to share with us, email the podcast, games+podcast@venturebeat.com. Thank you to Carlos Aini who does our normal theme song. He's Insane in the Rain music on YouTube. You can get that there. If you are listening to this on the website player widget, or if you're watching on YouTube, there's an audio version of the show that you can subscribe to. You can get that on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. And if you like the show, rate us on Apple Podcasts. It helps people find the show. And I might do a giveaway to help get some reviews on Apple Podcasts. So if people want you want like a GPU, because I got a couple of those laying around that I'm not going to be testing anymore. Maybe we could do something like that. Give one of those away. So
man, I just totally saw my camera autofocusing. I was totally lying about turning it off earlier.
Yeah, look, we'll
figure this out. It's a new toy.
Listen, we're in a rough spot right now. This podcast in rough shape. There are children screaming. There are cameras autofocusing. There's lights flashing on and off. But this is what you come here for.
People are giving us money anyways, though. That's
I mean, honestly, yeah. This is their own mistake at this point. They're just encouraging this behavior.
Hey, $5 from Nick Turbo. He says, thank you for your excellent review of Cyberpunk. It really helped me set my expectations for the game. Don't let the a-holes get you down. Smiley face. RDX Master Key for $4 Canadian says, is the Medium the first true next-gen game?
It depends on if it comes out. I mean, what's the date on that one? Did they like some? I feel like I want to make sure that one actually comes out before I say something like that.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, because
what makes the next gen? I don't know. I was running around with Spider-Man just in that new, because now they have that. What was great is they added that 60 frames per second mode with the ray tracing turned on, and that's really that's kind of next gen-y to me. That's really cool. I kind of wish it was there. And I think they did that by just I think they turned the resolution down, which I can't really notice, and they have lower density amount of pedestrians, which again I don't really notice. I was like, I would have just played this game like this.
Yep. I think I wonder if they for the early screenshots for reviews, they're like, let's just do this quality mode, make sure it looks as great as possible, and just have it run at 30 because it won't matter with screenshots, and it'll look pretty good in YouTube videos. And then okay, maybe we can adjust this later. And kind of give it people another reason to come back and try this game and see how pretty it can look, even with 60 frames per second in this mode. That's very exciting. And honestly, Cyberpunk looks like a next gen game if you have an RTX 3080.
It looks like a next gen game if you're not playing it on a next gen system.
Exactly. Yes. If you're playing it on PC, it looks like a next gen game.
And that's the thing. It totally just seems like if you don't buy that game for any console, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, it's a joke. No, yes. Definitely don't.
And people who are only playing on Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5, they seem like they're like, oh no, this is fine.
I'm curious. I heard that too, and now I see there was some pictures today where just showing the lighting difference with there's just some big guy in a car with a cigar between a PC running it well and the Xbox Series X version, and it was rough. And I know that there's that patch coming for those, but yeah, I wish it was here. I wish it was come soon because I don't know.
Yeah, I think that game is it's in a state. We could kind of talk about that a little bit because that's actually our first news story. Is that game is selling very well.
Sure.
Yeah, despite me trying to destroy it by saying I like it in my review.
How dare you?
And yeah, so it's Cyberpunk 2077 had 8 million pre-orders, and that's coming straight from the developer confirming that. So that's a lot.
They did
video games.
They did a very good job, and I think this was not to the detriment of sales, but the detriment of some people's expectations of making a lot of people believe that this game was going to be a very big deal.
Yes,
and maybe it is. I haven't played a second of it yet, so I have no critical. I have no critical thoughts about it. But they certainly have been able to make this game seem like a big deal, and that's one of the hardest things you can do, especially for a quote unquote new IP.
It reached a peak concurrent players on Steam of 1.05 million, which is absurd.
That's for a single player game that costs $60. Multi-platform single player game that costs $60. That's pretty nuts.
Yes, and it's available in other stores. It's available in Epic and stuff, I think. But that number's just I think the next closest. I don't know if this is for sure the next closest, but I'm pretty sure it is. I think Fallout 4 had its day one peak concurrence was 500,000 or something like that. So it doubled that. It's this game is easily already reached blockbuster status in terms of sales. I think the question is will it have legs like The Witcher did? But it almost doesn't matter if you sell this many copies right off the bat. If all those 8 million pre-orders paid off in the end, and everyone got them, pretty much most of those people saw those pre-orders through. And then there's a lot of people who aren't going to pre-order who are still going to buy it day one. That thing's probably already at like 12 million,
Right.
13, probably getting close to 15 million copies sold
And I
already.
mean,
That's bananas.
typically these kind of RPGs do have legs, anyways, right? Like your Skyrims and your Witchers, as long as it's somewhat well received, continues to get updates and patches and all this
Yeah.
stuff. I think it's gonna be fine. Real quick, RDX Master Keith, another $6 or $7 Canadian. Isn't the medium and next gen exclusive?
I think so.
I mean, it's for Series X, right?
Yeah, I do. And I always heard it was just for Series X and S and not for Xbox One. And it makes sense. Like the whole idea was like that thing's about like jumping around through dimensions, like using the SSD and stuff. So I mean, it's going to have next gen like features that require that super fast storage. I think like Mike was saying, it's like hard to like declare these things like, oh, this is the next gen, and that's what that means until we actually play it. It's safer just to be skeptical and not like to buy into the hype. Although I think we are doing that a little bit with Ratchet and Clank. Maybe deservedly so, because I think that game has shown some really incredible stuff that it's like, even if it's just that stuff, that is impressive on its own.
Sewer Link, I think that's how you say that. SUER. I'm going to pronounce that sewer. Not just a misspelling of sure.
Yeah.
Sewer Link with $2, thank you, says Hades is the true next gen here.
Got a point. Got a point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagragree.
Hades. Man, I was happy. I didn't care much about what games won awards last night, but when Hades won, I was like, "Oh yes, good for them."
Same. Yeah, it was good to see them win action game. That was very deserved.
Yeah. But going back to Cyberpunk, I mean, we were hearing before that it kept getting delayed because they had a hard time getting it running on the last gen systems, and it seems like they never really actually quite did get it really working on those things pretty well, and they kind of just like, well. Is what it is. Like, send it out there. We could spend as much time on this as we want. Maybe it'll look better, but at a certain point, they kind of want to just move on from that. And if the word of mouth is don't buy it on those versions, then I think they're almost okay with that to a certain point. Yeah, maybe people will wait for that patch or get it anyways, and know that at some point they can play it on their next gen systems.
Yeah, it's just at a certain point, this game just feels mismanaged in terms of these things, like. They crunched when they said they weren't going to, and it seems like the reason they were crunching is because the last gen systems and and so it's like, where along the line did the scope of the game get out of hand in line with the sales goal of releasing this on the current gen system, or last gen now? Somewhere along the line that ship had sailed and they couldn't go back on like their scope. So it's like, okay, how are we gonna like thread this needle? And turns out they just didn't. They just didn't thread the needle.
Not really.
Just like the needle holes over here, and they just threw it over that way really hard. Don't buy it on the last gen systems. Kind of feels like the answer here, right? Like you're supposed to wait and see like how these games actually perform. Right. And if the thing is it doesn't on the console you currently own, just don't buy it. Wait. Buy it when you have a system that can play it properly. And is that on CD Projekt Red? Like, yeah, but like how you spend your money is on you. So just don't spend your money on something that we now know for a fact is broken.
It is like 2 points of it, right? Like at some point, it's like, I mean, these people are releasing a product, right? Like everywhere. There should be some kind of like expectation of quality, I suppose. Although, history of gaming has shown us that isn't really the case. Yeah. But yeah, so. I guess you have to be a smarter consumer sometimes and just be like, no, I'm not going to get this right away. I'm going to wait. Even though, like I hesitate to say it's the consumer's fault there, right? Like, no, yeah, it should look better than it does. It should run better than it does.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, and now we've done like, the consumer protection process has happened now. Everyone knows what the game is like, and just don't spend your money until you're sure on something, I think. So it's like let's continue to criticize CD Projekt Red for releasing this game in this state, absolutely. But the simple solution here is just don't spend your money on something that you are sure it doesn't work on a last gen console. And then that doesn't mean it's like, oh, if you do have a next gen system, it's running great. There's still a ton of bugs, and if that sort of thing bothers you, don't get it.
I'm gonna almost never know if Cyberpunk is a good game or not, because I feel like this is the same thing that happened with Last of Us, where like the reviews were mostly very good, and
Yeah.
you didn't get the review Last of Us. You weren't able to taint its Metacritic score that time.
That
Like the reviews were good. Then it comes out, and from what I can tell, everyone is mad. Like don't like it, right? And then like 7 months later, like Last of Us wins a million Game of the Year awards, and I'm like, oh, I guess people do like it after all. So I guess, well, like I don't know anymore.
You're right. It seems like a pretty similar thing. Yeah, I will say that for this one, when I did like 3 out of 5, I think is a good score from us right now. It is a firm. I like this game. But
the way I set up the system is like a 5 out of 5 is a game that you really like and feel strongly about. A 4 is like a great game. A 3 is a good game. Like that's what I mean.
Yeah, a good game that I like, and that's exactly what this is. But I also I knew that people would be like, oh, that is too low for this game. That is going to be really well received. And even when like I was like realizing that, I also knew after this game came out, no one would care anymore because people were going to be mad at it. People were going to be mad that it was broken in so many ways, and then that would be the story immediately. So I was like, I gotta like weather this for a couple of days, and as soon as people get this thing in their own hands, they're going to be mad at it for a number of reasons on their own, and my review will be forgotten, and I'm totally fine with that.
Lucky that you're also lucky that a girl decided to also review it kind of bad, not as bad as you did, but she still, of course, gets most of the flack.
Yep, exactly.
She only played it for 50 hours. I mean, she beat the game and did a ton of side quests, but she didn't do enough crafting.
So she didn't play the game is the headline we're going with. Oh my god, yeah, absolutely.
And it was like, well, she basically didn't because, like, wow.
Yep, and it's totally, and like the fact that like you could tell that it's just like they're mad that it's a woman because they still care after the game is out and they can go play it for themselves. And it's like, no, clearly now you're just using this as an excuse to attack.
Like, imagine if somebody was like, you didn't really review Spider-Man, you didn't do all of the web swinging challenges. Sounds like that's okay. It's whatever.
Yeah,
another $7 Canadian from RDX Master Keith.
Thank you, Master Keith.
Did anyone else think they were remaking Turok before the Arc 2 title came up?
Absolutely.
I actually literally said that, and I was actually kind of disappointed because that would have been even funnier to me if that thing was like, yeah, Vin Diesel's Turok now.
Yeah,
I would have been even more into that.
That would have been. I would have been so into that. Actually, I was really pulling for that. About three quarters of the way through that trailer, I was pulling for that. But Arc 2, whatever.
Is it not like isn't Arc a multiplayer survival game, or was it always single player?
Yeah, I mean, it's different. You could play it single player, but you're playing it in that sort of same multiplayer environment. But there's still definitely like the breadcrumbs of narrative that they're laying into your emergent narrative experience and stuff. And adding Vin Diesel to that's only going to kind of it just puts a face to the franchise. So that's probably
a beautiful face.
Yeah, one of the most beautiful faces in history of man, of course. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's probably time to talk about the Game Awards. Should we get the quick Halo news out of the way real quick? I mean, they did. Halo wasn't at the Game Awards. They sort of reintroduced it and said it is coming in fall of 2021.
Right, and I feel like we talked about this, and I was kind of like it was delayed, and we hear nothing for a bit. I'm like, I feel like this is delayed, really delayed. I think I may have even said I feel like it is next fall. So,
yeah, that sounds like I think you were saying exactly that. Like, and I never would have believed spring. To me, it was like at the earliest it would have been summer right after E3. But yeah, no, they're going full fall 2021, and it's like, I guess you could have anticipated this because when they brought in Joseph Staten, it was like, no, you are coming in and you are coming in to change things, and no one's getting fired, no one's getting taken off the project. But I think Chris Lee was his name. He was definitely like, you need to step aside and let Joseph Staten take over. And that was right from the moment Joseph Staten came in. And then a few weeks later, Chris Lee's like, well, I'm leaving this project and I'm still at Microsoft, but I'm leaving Halo. It's in good hands. I think that was always part of the transition. And then the plan was always to get to a point where Joseph Staten writes a blog post, reintroduces this Halo game, says here are the problems that we've identified that we know concern you. They concern us as well. Here's how we're going to fix them. And he laid it out, and it just seems like already the first step of a masterstroke of bringing this game back. People seem very confident in the plan that he laid out, and it's kind of a good sign.
It's what's incredible to me is that there very much could have been a world where Halo Infinite did just come out in November, right?
Yeah.
Like if somebody high up whoever's call that was just made the call like, no, this is coming out. Like that could have happened, and I will forever be curious. Like, just what would that have been like? That's just how this industry is so crazy, right? You could have gone from that to a whole year later.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, my hunch is that it was never like Cyberpunk on base Xbox PS4 bad. It's probably just like it wasn't all the way, and it was like a solid 7, and that game can't be a solid 7.
No, absolutely not. They really need Halo Infinite to hit. They can't afford 2 disappointing Halos in a row, especially this one had, kind of some extra buzz and excitement with the new console and all that stuff. Right. Yeah, this has to do well, and they're willing to kind of take a hit on extra time and money for that, or even console sales, right? Like this thing was supposed to help move systems. So
and they're still selling every Xbox that they're putting on store shelves for now. But that could dry up soon if they don't have anything major and ready to go. And I think that we can get to the Game Awards now. They had some stuff there that I still keeps people excited.
Before we get on Game Awards, RTX Master Keith with 280 Canadian. $2.80 Canadian, to be clear, not 280, which would have been nice. Come on, stop skimping on us. Says Halo Infinite should release on 20th anniversary. When did I guess that would be it, huh? Halo 1 did come out in 2001, huh?
Yep, it seems like that might be the plan.
I feel like that's exactly what they're going to do now.
Yeah, huh? And it's like, you have a chance to really build up to that. You're gonna have to redo all these deals anyhow, all these marketing deals that you messed up by delaying this game way late into the process.
Get that gamer fuel production going.
Right, and if you make it like the 20th anniversary of Halo, combined with that, it's like, listen, man, we're going to make a really big deal out of this. I promise you it's going to be even bigger than what it would have been next to the Xbox launch. Like, the PS5 was launching at the same time. Some of this stuff would have got lost in the noise. And the next year, if we're making this about the 20th anniversary, people are going to have that nostalgia going really hard, and we're going to have a really good game to go alongside that that's going to keep people excited, like, through the holidays, to keep selling these products, to get the codes or whatever. I could see them absolutely.
I can't believe Halo is going to be 20 years old. When Halo came out, Super Mario Brothers wasn't 20 years
Jesus
old.
Christ. Oh my God, you're right. That is gross. That's messed up.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
But
okay. Here we are. Okay, so the Game Awards. I'm not going to go over any of the winners, I don't think, unless anything stands out to you. But I don't even remember.
If you want to talk about Last of Us Part 2 is Game of the Year.
Yeah, it's Game of the Year. Like,
we're winning every award. Like, yeah, sure.
I guess. I was a little surprised. But I'm not too surprised, I guess. Because I don't know the exact makeup of the voting block. I thought there would have been like some like backlash among the people that were voting, but it turns out like no, these are people that actually legitimately love the Last of Us 2. It's the kind of game they do like, and they're voting, so, and that's fine.
Yeah, so a lot of people did like it, so I don't know. Hey, $5 from Carmos 1970. He said that 2077 plays okay on Xbox One X, slows down while driving cars. My problem with the game is the lack of interaction with the world around you, which I'm sure you're going to talk about in what we play. Then RDX Master Keith with another 280 Canadian said November 15th was Halo 1.
Thank you very much for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carmos, for the 5.
It was like, because GameCube was like the week before or after. They both came out so close to each other. Yeah. But so, I would have liked to see Hayes. My big stake was just seeing Ori nominated, and when that didn't happen, I decided I was going to pout the entire show, especially when they were doing like the orchestral medley of all the Game of the Year nominees, and I was just mad that I didn't get to hear Ori's incredible score mixed in there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was a disappointment, because that game should have that game. I'm pretty confident that game should have replaced Doom Eternal, and if more people,
one for me.
If more people had played Ori, it would have done exactly that, I think. So, and I think that's why Hades doesn't win, is because not enough people actually played Hades. I think the people who did, a lot of them voted for that game. So,
that was our pick, right? Because
you and me both voted for it.
We get a vote as a site, so we kind of have to come to a consensus. And
right.
I don't know if it's any one of our single Game of the Year, but when it comes to consensus, we were like, yeah, that one. Not Dean won The Last of Us Part 2, of course, but we shot him down.
Yeah, we denied him for that. Although he got the last laugh there, Mike. So
sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some of this news. I don't have it written down here because it wasn't an announcement. So I guess let's just talk Elden Ring real quick. And if you're an Elden Ring fan and you're here and you're upset, I'm sorry. you know, I was more confident about that game appearing at the awards earlier this week, just based on a few things I was hearing. I said optimistic, and that's how I meant it. Was like, I'm optimistic this game could show up, as in like more than 50% sure. And then the as I started like actually digging into stuff, it's like, oh no, okay, the game's not going to be here. So I said pessimistic, and I hope that would sort of clear things up. But it turned out, people have told me later, I wasn't like watching firsthand, that the r/Elden Ring subreddit had completely lost its mind because of these things. And like some people were like, thank you for this. This was hilarious. It was the funniest thing. People were actually going crazy because of you like whiplashing them around. But listen, here's one thing I've heard that I can say. Have a little bit more patience, but just a little bit more. And that doesn't mean like days. And I don't think it quite means weeks, but it doesn't mean like months and months and months. It doesn't mean.
I mean, clearly they're not canceling this game, considering how much everybody is feverishly looking forward to it. Right,
most anticipated game.
Most anticipated. Like, obviously, they want this game to come out, so they're going to have to show something on it eventually.
Yeah, and Jeff Keighley's saying Elden Ring almost like with an apology, like Elden Ring, and then he has nothing else to say about it, so he's just like moves on really quickly. That was one of my moments of the night for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I listen. Yeah, they're obviously working on this game. I heard some other stuff. I'm not going to be able to confirm it, so I'm not going to like say it here. But like I said, the one thing that I will say is just a little bit more patience. They didn't show it here. I think they probably could have if they wanted to. I think it's at that state, but let's just give it a month or two more.
For God's sakes, they announced the new Mass Effect game with what I am sure is nothing. So they could have showed something for Elden Ring, I guess.
Yes,
they really wanted to.
Right. Yeah. Clearly. But I think they are beyond that state. I'll say they're definitely not at a point where Mass Effect is at. Oh Jesus. All right, Mike. You know what? I want to go to. Let's go to your expertise now. Sephiroth is going to Smash. So what's up?
Sephiroth. Yeah. I mean, I had no idea who it was going to be. I wasn't going to guess Sephiroth. I guess it kind of, it makes sense. It's a big character, and it certainly seems like a lot of the DLC is just about doing some of the big fan pleasing ones, or just getting big characters in there in general. So. Makes sense. The weird thing about it is that Square Enix, like, they seemed really stingy in regards to cloud already.
This is what I was hearing. Like, and I guess I didn't pay attention to this history, but it's like, of all the partners they worked with across these games, it seemed like getting cloud was definitely the most lackluster because they couldn't get all of the other stuff. Like, apparently it didn't have a lot of the music from Final Fantasy.
They only have two. So like, usually when a character gets added, like the Joker from Persona 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like dozens of Persona songs in there, and they usually get like people to do new remixes and stuff like that.
Right.
For Cloud, you go to the Final Fantasy 7 level, there's 2 songs, and they're just like ripped, like the original MIDIs from Final Fantasy 7. Like that's all they were given. It's like it's not even just a Square Enix thing, because you have Hero from Dragon Quest.
Right.
And there's tons of great Dragon Quest music in there. So it's just some weird like hang up with whoever was in charge about Final Fantasy. So it's weird that it's another Final Fantasy character. And I'm not disappointed about Sephiroth. I think it's fine. But it is like, oh, here's not only another Final Fantasy character, but another Final Fantasy 7 character specifically. And I love Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And I get that Sephiroth's iconic. Well,
yeah, like second, like if Cloud's the most popular, most like recognizable character, Sephiroth is number 2 for sure.
Right. He's the most recognized villain from the series. Like, I sure would have wished that it was something a bit more interesting, like a Kefka or something, if you're going to do a Final Fantasy film.
That'd be cool. Yeah, but and like almost like, but like, why isn't it Sora? Because Sora would have been a much bigger deal.
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah, I think even that, right? Sora's always been requested, and that would have been cool. Though I don't know if suddenly you have to like get Disney involved in that decision making process. I don't know exactly how that works. So there's that. The other thing is that it is another sword character, right? And that's always a joke. And there is some truth to that. There are just a lot of characters in Smash Brothers who are guys with swords.
But they answered that complaint by just having him straight up stab Mario.
Yeah, that was great.
Or at least that's my chosen belief of what he did.
Right.
That image is now my new banner on Twitter because it's just
pretty good.
It's so good. Just
it's
Sephiroth
hilarious.
Silhouette stabbing Mario. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's art.
Yeah. So what's interesting about Sephiroth, and in actual Final Fantasy 7, he's pretty interesting. I feel like every interpretation of him afterward has been like really boring and it's almost like it's like religious or something. Like, oh, it's Sephiroth. There's too much gravitas. We can't do
Yeah.
anything interesting with him. So he just kind of stands around and says things way too calmly and
Hmm.
like poses dramatic. I'm like, all right, this is like it's like this weird like shadow world interpretation of like this ideal of Sephiroth instead of letting Sephiroth be interesting
Hmm.
or be a character.
Yeah.
Like even in the remake, I had a little bit of that problem. Like I said, everything about Sephiroth since the original has always felt kind of like too reverent.
Yeah, it does feel like the kind of thing where like yeah, like they think this is their I don't know, their big serious character that should have gravitas, and they can't mess with that because then something will be lost. And it's like, oh guys, this Final Fantasy VII was kind of hokey to begin with. You can kind of let your hair down a little bit here, but yeah, they're gonna have more info on Sephiroth on December 17th. Does that mean that's the release day? You think?
I think they said the release date is December, so it might be then or that
Okay.
like the day after, but it'll be soon.
Okay. Very cool. So that was like the first announcement of the night, and then like the next big announcement was probably the second big announcement of the night if you're not like counting like Mass Effect announcements that we kind of already knew were going to happen
too.
Yeah, yeah. So we got a cinematic trailer for the Initiative's first game. The Initiative is Microsoft's Santa Monica studio that they started in 2018.
The quadruple A studio.
Quadruple A studio, right?
That's one more A than normal.
And they're acquiring a lot of talent from studios like Sony Santa Monica and Naughty Dog, and they want to make it a big deal. And then so they revealed a trailer. They talked a little bit, said, "Oh, it's like an eco-sci-fi, like ecological sci-fi, and things seem good in this world. But if you scratch underneath the surface, there's something happening, and it's a cyber thriller." And they revealed stuff. It's like, man, this looks like a pretty cool world. And then they come up behind the character that you're going to be playing as, and it's clearly Joanna Dark. And then the name comes up, and it says Perfect Dark. And I was excited. I think they did a really good job with this. I think that this is a it's hard to like gauge like where like how you should feel about Perfect Dark in 2020. But I find myself feeling excited about it.
I mean, yeah, I think it's neat. I think that Perfect Dark probably deserves like another shot there. I'm not personally a giant Perfect Dark fan. I mean, I'm the guy who doesn't like GoldenEye, right? So
Right. Yes.
So I didn't like Perfect Dark that much. And then Perfect Dark Zero was that. There's a game I would almost like to play in 2020, right?
Yeah.
Perfect Dark Zero, just to see what that is like now. That would be interesting. But I think it's neat. I think it's definitely a franchise that it makes a lot of sense to bring back, and the idea of suddenly just going through and grabbing Perfect Darks almost randomly and be like, this is now going to be one of the most expensive games ever. I find that intriguing.
Yeah.
I like the chaos of that a little bit.
Yeah. It does feel like, hey, we got so much money, we could do whatever we want. Let's make a quadruple A Perfect Dark game. What? How did you? Okay, just throwing things at the dartboard. But I think it also like makes like a very straight, like a linear sort of sense for Microsoft as well. It's like, well, that's a big name we're not doing anything with. Let's just attach that to the big studio and just kind of do that. Yeah. I think as long as the Initiative doesn't become the Perfect Dark studio, the way that the Coalition is the Gears of War studio, I think this will be fine. I think that they need to have some freedom to mess around with stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, if Perfect Dark comes out as a big hit, I mean, guess what?
Yeah, no, sure, for sure, yes, but I don't want them to get like 3 games in or whatever and feel like they have to keep doing
I mean, hopefully it's like a Naughty Dog, right? Where between Uncharted 3 and 4, they were able to make The Last of Us.
Right, exactly, yeah. I don't know. I'm excited about this. I think we got some questions about it in the questions section. We'll try to get to that there. So I guess we could probably pick up the pace a little bit here.
A lot happened, man.
Yeah, a lot happened. So Glenn Schofield is making the Callisto Protocol, and Glenn Schofield is one of the 2 people that was in charge of
Dead Space.
Dead Space, yes. I was trying to think of the studio's name, but the studio's dead now. And yeah, and this game is very much like a spiritual
I mean, I thought it was Dead Space for a while. So.
Yeah, right.
And it's good. I like Dead Space. I mean, not 3. I didn't even play that one, but
right. And this is like the striking distance studio that PUBG Corporation started and like brought Glenn Schofield in to like oversee. So PUBG Corporation doing it kind of like really, going far away from the battle royale thing and just doing something completely new, which is pretty neat.
It was a good trailer. I mean, it's a CG trailer, but it's a good CG trailer. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it sold to the people that were buying, right? They want more Dead Space. Someone's making more Dead Space, and it's the person who made Dead Space originally. So, yeah. A
lot of that going around the Game Awards because we have Back for Blood, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's that's like one of the things the Game Awards could do. It's like, oh no, these games are still a big deal, even though they don't have the name attached to it, and like let's put it on the big stage and get people excited about it.
I will say, like, this Callisto Protocol, like that looks like, oh, that's like what a new Dead Space would look like right now, even if EA was still behind it. There's a like, I don't want to poop on Back for Blood or anything, but there's a part of me it's like, oh, that looks like, yeah, Valve's definitely not involved this time.
Yeah.
There's definitely I want money this time.
I want to play it and see for myself, but I agree. And who knows? Maybe once we see Callisto Protocol's gameplay, it'll kind of feel the same way.
Yeah.
And then we had the first of the BioWare doubleheader, Dragon Age 4 teaser. Also a cinematic trailer, which I don't think people should be too surprised about at the Game Awards. Like, they're not going to show a ton of gameplay at the Game Awards. It's too broad of an audience.
Unless you're a Korean MMO, then we're going to see a ton of gameplay. Apparently, like 10 minutes of it. But yeah, I mean, this was certainly better than. I mean, I don't know better, but it obviously was better. But it was more substantial. It almost got like a vibe that maybe this is going to be a bit more like Dragon Age Origins in terms of like, making a character, your class and stuff like that. So like that has me a little bit interested.
Yeah, I agree.
They went out of their way to be like, you're not like the chosen one, you're just some dude, and that's kind of what it was like in Origins. Although of course you became part of that order, whatever. I forget. You had to drink. I remember you drank a potion and you were maybe going to die or not. Which I think is also almost exactly what The Witcher does in its lore.
It sounds like I was gonna say it sounds like most RPGs. So yeah. I mean, it looks good. I think this game's probably still a bit away, but I wouldn't be surprised if we like get like the big reveal at the next E3. Like that would make sense. I think it's time.
Like gameplay and all that. Like, it's not coming out this year, but 2021 fall.
Yeah, maybe. Exactly. Yeah. Let's see. Then Vin Diesel's game. Arc 2. I thought this was Turok for sure. I thought this was I wasn't sure exactly what it is for a while, but Turok was like the big one. And then I was surprised that it was Arc 2.
I kind of forgot about Arc, so that's what I get.
Yeah, no, the game's popular still, and I guess I'm surprised they're doing an Arc 2. But like, I mean, if you're gonna do it, go out and get the best. Get the man.
Well get Vinny. Man, that trailer had it was just all over the place tonally. There were like women getting eaten by dinosaurs, and then like Vin Diesel doing action stuff. Then like that girl like giving raspberries to the dinosaur. I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling.
I mean, if you haven't watched that trailer, it's a hell of a thing. Go watch it.
It is, because it's like not good. Like the animation is very stiff, and like the blood effects are weird and stuff. Like, but I'm intrigued.
If you like saw like a screenshot, like you might be like, oh wow, that's just like straight up Vin Diesel. But like in motion, it's like, oh, it's like stiff and weird. Yeah, it totally looks like one of those open world survival games that are primarily multiplayer. Absolutely. And then there's just a Vin Diesel skin, which is incredible. All right, then let's there's a couple things to go through here. Microsoft Flight Simulator is coming to console in the summer. Forza Horizon 4 is getting the Cyberpunk car. There's an Evil Dead game. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is coming to the Switch.
Neat.
All the Yakuzas are coming to Game Pass, and that includes like remasters of like 3, 4, and 5.
I'm surprised that there wasn't another Nintendo announcement. It really was just the Smash Bros. Character, huh?
Yeah. I was hoping for Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, but I guess
2 or Metroid something, trilogy, or just something, but no.
Yeah, but like it's like clearly like the Smash character reveal was probably ready to go for a while, and now they had a really good opportunity to do it here. And then the other stuff, I think Nintendo is just happy to continue waiting. Like, let's just get through the holiday, and they'll start doing directs again next year sometime, and then they'll talk about that stuff then. So, they still have that weird March 31st date looming, right? So it's like, and I think we say stuff like, oh, Nintendo has to start talking to us about these things at some point, so we know what happens after March 31st when all these games go away and they stop selling the stuff. Like, well, so they're going to talk to us, and they're the Game Awards is a perfect place to do that. And like Nintendo's like, we don't have to do anything. We could talk whenever we're good and ready, and that might not be until April or something. So we'll just have to wait and see. It Takes Two. That's the Joseph Ferris game. I thought that looked really good.
I wasn't too interested in that last one. That was like a prison escape, but I thought this looked really neat. I thought it looked funny, interesting.
Yeah,
I was into it.
I think the A Way Out, which is like the previous one, the prison escape one, it's too rigid. Like you can only do so much with that. It's like the escape sequence is probably going to be pretty good, but anything else other than that will, it's probably not going to be too fun. This is like much more abstract, so you can make every little thing like fun and quirky and weird, and that's where this stuff's really going to benefit from. But it's
Nick Turbo gives $2 and asked, "Where is Silent Hill?" So I feel up. So where is it, Jeff? This man paid you. Where is it?
My God, I have never ever said anything about this game. I don't know. Listen, people. I think we just have to accept that maybe this one isn't actually happening. If we haven't heard about it by now, why not? Like, probably because it's not happening. Oh, you're tired, kiddo? Go lay down on the couch. I'll be over there in a little bit, okay?
I do want to lay down.
I know, me too. It's Friday. Let's see. Then Master Chief is coming to Fortnite. We knew about that. They say like bounty hunters. Like this is like the season of bounty hunters, and
so everyone thinks maybe Samus is coming, right? That's
right.
The thing.
But how do you think Samus is coming? Because I think not. Right? If they didn't announce it last night, like why not?
Oh, well, because you had Master Chief ready to go. No, I know it could still be coming. I mean, you've got somebody from Sony, from Microsoft. Fortnite is big on Nintendo. And they've done things like character packs for Minecraft and whatnot. So I don't think they would mind that much. You would imagine it'd almost be disappointing if it wasn't, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, totally. Mass Effect teaser is the last thing that I have here on this list, and I don't know. I think it did a really good job of like, because the last we heard, like, oh, we're gonna continue Mass Effect when they started on in 7 Day when they announced the trilogy remaster.
I guess that's what I find kind of weird. Like, I feel like this would have been more effective if, like, why did they have to say that then? Because it's like all this did was tell us, oh, they're working on Mass Effect. Yeah, which we knew already. Obviously we could have guessed that anyways, but it was a little weird.
I mean, I guess, but like, you say that and then it's like, then you have this trailer very soon afterwards. To me, that says like, oh, they're serious. Like they announced it on N7 Day that, the Legendary Edition is happening. We're going to keep making these games. Then, people, like key people left between then and now. So maybe that's like part of why they say they're going to continue
that's
it.
True, right? Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a hypocrite because I'm the guy who loved the Elder Scrolls 6 trailer. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe part of my issue is just not being all that excited about Mass Effect at this particular moment. I'm totally hopeful that it'll be good and be interesting and all that jazz. It is still just weird. Like, here's the CG trailer we made. I mean, it's weird because even the Dragon Age one was basically like a wall that they rendered in 3D and then like did fancy camera shots around. Right. Like this time they spent some money on this thing.
Yeah, and I think they did that because I think they wanted to leave like the Easter eggs and the clues for the diehard fans, and it seems like it's working to that effect. Because it's again,
the people who like Mass Effect, man, they really like Mass Effect, and I'm sure this meant the world to them, and so that's good. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, there's people like like lots of videos of people straight up crying when they saw this stuff, and it's like you see Liara, who that clearly is, return, and she's got like the age lines around her eyes now, and the implications of that, like, oh, this could be hundreds of years later because that race, the Ansari, I think, lived for hundreds of years. Yeah. So it's like, oh. They also showed apparently like 2 galaxies in the trailer. So it's like
the Andromeda Galaxy,
right? And then the director of the game said that was deliberate. The suggestion there is maybe this is a sequel, not just to Mass Effect 3, but also Andromeda. You bring all that stuff together. You don't abandon Andromeda and the fans that actually did embrace that game. It's doing a lot of work with this cinematic trailer, and that's I think that's why they do it, and it's for those people very specifically.
I think it's certainly a better last announcement than a Fast and Furious game, right?
Yes,
especially definitely. I love that game came out and just no one.
I mean, it was just a bad game. Like, I played it. It's like this is clearly a Burnout 3 takedown ripoff, and I'm like, oh, I'm playing it on my phone streaming. I'm like, this could work, and then I got it on my computer and played it, and it's like, oh no, this is like sludge. This is so slow. This is terrible. It's like if they just made it feel fast, it would be a good game, but they fail at that very basic thing.
It's 2. I believe those are euros. I can never remember which one's the euros and which one's the pounds, but those are euros for Metalfly. Thank you. No comment. RDX Master Keith with another 280. What do you guys think of Exomecha? What's Exomecha? I don't even remember Exomecha.
I'm googling it. I don't know. Oh, this is that. I thought this looked like a Mass Effect game, right?
Okay, now I'm googling this. Apparently, I didn't think much of it.
Exomecha is a free-to-play online competitive first-person shooter that takes place on a planet called Omeka. It's an immersive experience with high-quality visuals. Of course. Yeah, the people like put their guns on their back and they looked like they were out of Mass Effect. I thought it looks cool, but like any free to play game, it's like there's almost no point in getting excited about it because you need to wait and see if it's going to catch on before you sort of invest your emotions into it. So I'm like, let's wait and see
Yeah,
if it catches on. And like it says that like Exomecha comes to Xbox in 2021. I imagine it can't be just Xbox because I mean they're putting Xbox first, but like if you're a free to play shooter, you got to be on everything. Like you almost have to be on phones. So yeah, you kind of want to see how it performs before you get invested in it. That's where I'm at with those kinds of games. Yeah, I mean that was the Game Awards. Anything like stand out from you that you wanna talk about?
Just that it's long, but I think that's really a very specific issue if you're covering it as your job. I'm sure the people, I don't know if the people who are watching it for fun think it's long. Maybe they like that it's, that much content. But yeah, for us, when you're working it feels pretty long. But no, I think it's a good show. I think it's exciting. I mean, it's miles ahead of what we had even 10 years ago, right? And like, there's nothing about it that embarrassed me or I felt like was embarrassing to the industry, which is sometimes all you can ask for. I thought the musical stuff, the orchestra stuff was great. Fun little Mario medley we had there for a bit. So yeah, it was it was good. I still don't understand why it doesn't happen a month later than it does, but
yeah,
aside from that, yeah,
totally. Because like Cyberpunk had its issues. I think it might have deserved like stuff like narrative and acting and stuff like that, at least to be nominated. But there are games that come out in December that people are like Cyberpunk
before November.
And yeah, but before it comes out, or before it came out, people were like, "Oh no, Cyberpunk is definitely going to play in the 2021 Game Awards," and people were like, that was a wild thing to say because I never thought that was going to happen, even if it was a great game. But now with all these issues, there is no way Cyberpunk's going to be remembered when it comes next time next year to actually like put our nominations down on paper. There's going to be 5 other games we're going to want to write down before Cyberpunk.
I mean, even like, as part of it's just, like Jedi Fallen Order, right? Like that was a game I really liked and I probably would have nominated it last year, but like this year it's like, man, like at this point, like, do I really freaking want to or need to pin a medal on Jedi Fallen Order like 13 months later? I don't know. It's weird.
Let's do some questions related to this real quick, and then we'll do NPD. So let's see here. From at Cunnin Linguist.
Nice.
What did you make of the celebrity inclusions? Who was your favorite? Was Tom Holland meant to accompany a trailer rather than just do a 2-minute role or something, comper role?
That was kind of interesting. Yeah, he was kind of there for no reason, huh?
He was there to introduce another presenter. Yeah, it was like, those are weird.
I mean, it still promoted the Uncharted movie, I guess, but with not very much. So yeah, that was fine. Again, all the celebrities were, again, it used to be that every celebrity that came there felt like they needed to make a joke about nerds so that it wasn't too embarrassing for them to be at the video game thing, right? And that's like, it's fine, and they all seem to be respectful or actually into gaming themselves. Right. Keanu was great, like he always is. So yeah, I thought all the celebrities were actually fine.
Right. I think the worst thing you could say about it is also kind of the best thing is like I almost forgot that there were celebrity appearances like until I read this question. I'm like, oh yeah, people like Tom Holland were there. So they came, they did their job. They didn't embarrass, like they didn't make me feel embarrassed that I was like a fan of gaming and stuff like that by like trying too hard to be a cool gamer dude or whatever. And then they went about their business and let us get back to like game awards and game announcements. And so yeah, that it was fine. It was definitely better than like Jamie Kennedy hosting like in 2003, without a doubt. So let's see. From at /games1120, what was the point of saying Mass Effect will continue when we already knew that was the case? So we talked about this a little bit.
We talked about that, and that was kind of my question, right? But I mean, you can kind of just see the response of some of the fans, how much it means to like have that and to kind of get that marketing train rolling just a bit more. You know what? I mean, the one thing that I kept laughing at during the show was how they don't. All the things that are coming to Xbox Series X, whatever, they don't say coming to Xbox Series X. They say coming to the all new Xbox. And that seems a little weird to me. It's weird, right? Like, I'm not crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, but like they want us to just call it Xbox, right? And they said that from the beginning.
I think that's the problem right now is that they do want it to just be Xbox, but right now they do have to specify between the Series X and an Xbox One, so it's awkward. And I still think it's stupid. I guess
you're right. It sounds funny.
I think it's stupid. I think it's causing dumb things like this.
Yes, it sounds a little awkward right now. You're right, but I think for the people that it's aimed at, that it'd be like all new Xbox, like, you know, you like all new iPhone. You just go ask for the all new iPhone. You go ask for the all new Xbox. You're going to get the right one.
I get it, but
yes, I know you. I know you do. You're right. We've talked about this a million times before.
Yeah,
but
we can move on.
You're not wrong that it sounds awkward.
I just want it to be known that I think it's stupid. I think everyone does.
Let's see here. What is your opinion on the rumor that the Initiatives game is an episodic game featuring all Xbox IPs, with each season being like 15 hours campaign, with the first season being Perfect Dark? So this is clearly an amalgamation of like a joke I made on a podcast and some rumors that were like misunderstood. So
I mean, no one makes episodic games anymore. Even Telltale isn't going to make episodic games when they come back.
So let me state it clearly. And if anyone is like listening, that's going to like aggregate the news from this episode, do this one. I could say that one of the, you know, a contact, a source told me episodic is bullshit in relation to this news. That is it's bullshit. It's not episodic. I think the reason someone's like, oh, all the Xbox IPs, like that was my joke as like my guess for what this game was before I started hearing again that it was Perfect Dark. It was like, oh, they're going to do like a time traveling sort of thing where they go from one Xbox IP to another, and you travel in the background of all these important games, of all these important moments in all these really big Xbox games, and you make sure that the player can win by making sure things don't go wrong, because there's like some time, like it's a quantum leap sort of thing. And it was like, it was a joke, but I think it must have gotten taken a little bit seriously, because apparently I keep seeing it pop up here and there.
No, it's a Perfect Dark game. It's going to be a single game. It's not going to be episodic.
It is a perfect dark
episodic
game.
Anyway. It's a perfect. It is what it. They're not trying to trick you.
Yep, it's a perfect.
There's no surprise. It's Perfect Dark.
And like a little bit of confusion just came because people like it. You know, there was another question in here. I can't find it, but like oh, like the rumor that it was you know, it's just a Perfect Dark setting or whatever. Where did that come from? And that was like when I heard it was Perfect Dark. I heard like, oh, it's definitely going to be related to Perfect Dark. And then some people I was bouncing this off of were like, I don't think it's Perfect Dark. And then there was like a bunch of people saying flat out, a bunch of people who have good sources as well saying, I don't think it's a Perfect Dark game. And so it's like, okay, so what's happening here? But like clearly now it is Perfect Dark. I think that the initial reports of it being Perfect Dark were right, and everything else was just second guessing. So yes, not episodic. You told
me it was Perfect Dark at least a bit ago.
Yeah. Yes, and it turns out that's exactly what it is. Is Perfect Dark aiming to be a really huge title for Microsoft, like The Last of Us for Sony? I mean,
yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's
you know, yeah,
kind of has to be.
I'm sure they want it to be Game of the Year, right? They want it to win Game of the Year or whatever year it comes out at the Game Awards. It's going to be that thing. And I think they'll consider it a failure if it's not nominated.
Right, and I don't think it needs to feel exactly like a Sony first party game. I think it needs to just be really good. It needs to be a really good game that people are talking about and they can't help but talk about in the Game of the Year conversation. It needs to be a great game. So
yeah, it needs to be something like a Uncharted or, you know, Last of Us or a Red Dead or one of those things.
This is one I've seen in the chat a few times, and this one comes from at Nature Boy or at Envoy711 on Twitter. In terms of length of development, what are we speculating with Perfect Dark? Fall 2022 or much later? Thank you. I love the show. Thank you, Envoy. Yeah, I don't know. What are your expectations here, Mike?
I mean, it's impossible to know, right? Because I mean, technically, I know this game is further along in development than Mass Effect, but like if you had taken somebody who didn't know anything and showed them both, you would have no way of knowing, right? It's just both introductory CG trailers for both things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like this one, I could almost believe it's slightly possible it's actually somehow a 2021 game. I don't think it is at all. But like if there was a 5% chance of that, I might see it. But probably a 2022, right? Mm-hmm. And if not that, then 2023 also seems likely.
Yes, I think 2022, 2023, I think in that range. I'm surprised they showed it this early. And to me, that says like their pipeline is working pretty fast, and they're confident that they can get this game out in a reasonable amount of time.
Well, now they have a holiday game for this year now, right? I wonder if it makes them feel okay about pushing some other things back. Maybe not pushing back, but you know, not quite cracking the whip so hard on these things. Well, Perfect Dark needs to come out in fall
Right.
2022 because that's the big game this year, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's it seems like they have a lot in the works, and so this game, nothing's gonna fall on just this game. This game can come out whenever it's ready. I don't think they want that to be 2024 or 2025.
Yeah, 2024 seems pretty late.
That seems like a really long time. And then if that's the case, it's like, wow, more issues at Microsoft is kind of how that feels. But
Yeah.
2023 is reasonable, even if it does still also feel like a long time from now. Okay. I just looked at the time. We've been going for 50 minutes already, so we can
We have NPDs still, don't we?
we still have NPDs to go through. That's right. So let's hit those the highlights here. It was a big month. November sales were $7 billion. Now this includes like a full game sales, hardware, accessories, but it also includes like DLC now, and it also includes mobile games, and so it's a bigger number than we've heard in the past. But when you take all of those factors into consideration, it's up 35% year over year. Gaming growing like a huge amount. Year to date spending, so through the first 11 months, it's 44.5 billion, which is up 22% year over year. Clearly the new consoles launched in November. PlayStation 5 generated the most revenue, so like made the most money from selling hardware. But both Xbox and PlayStation 5 pushed hardware sales to a November record of $1.4 billion. But in terms of just hardware sold, units sold, Switch came out on top for the 24th month in a row with 1.3 million units. So yeah, just a massive month for everything involving game sales.
And all the new releases that you would expect to sell well sold pretty well.
Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Spider-Man, Miles Morales at number 3. I think the one thing I would point out here is that Demon's Souls was number 10, and like it's like just ahead of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And I think that this isn't like a bad thing for Demon's Souls. It's just a reminder of why Sony is so adamant about making sure these games still come to PS4,
right,
at least for a little while.
Is only PlayStation 5.
Right.
Miles Morales makes it impressive that it still can chart, right? Because I mean, there's only so many PlayStation 5s out there.
Right, exactly. A huge attach rate. Yes, exactly. It's impressive for Demon's Souls. But Miles Morales up at number 3 on PS4 as well. So it's like, for the time being, these games are so expensive to make. They want to make sure they get the biggest return on investment. They're not just interested in just selling PS5s. Those systems are going to sell regardless, and the promise is there well into the future. So if some games still run on PS4, it's not going to really hurt them. So to me, this is like why games like Horizon Zero Dawn get promised for PS4 as well, or whatever, the Forbidden West. Not much
Hyrule
else here.
Warriors, number 6.
Hyrule Warriors, yes.
So it charted pretty well for a Dynasty Warriors type game.
Yeah, best-selling Warrior or fastest-selling Warriors game ever, I think. So
we all assumed that was going to happen.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, Nintendo like still dominating the list though. There's I mean,
even freaking Luigi's Mansion 3, man. Again, like, and you don't ever think of that franchise as like the one with the big legs, but it's number 15 here.
Yeah,
that game's
like ahead of Smash Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ahead of Smash Brothers. I think,
and again,
because it was that there's some October carryover here, right? Like around Halloween.
Yes, that's true.
So,
that's a good point.
So that helped.
But like Nintendo doesn't include their digital sales with the NPD for software, and almost all these other games do. So this is just the physical games, not the digital games selling on the eShop. So
that's nuts.
It is. It's kind of bonkers what Nintendo's games are doing right now, and that's just that's like the real strength of the Switch. It's like, oh yeah, hardware demand is still really high. 1.3 million consoles. It seems like they sold every single Switch they could ship to stores and throughout November. But people are buying so many games for this system, and it's just kind of putting them so far ahead of everyone else in terms of publishers and manufacturers of hardware. Okay, yeah, that's gonna do it for the NPD report. So let me pick out just one or two more questions, and then we'll get to what we've been playing. Let's see here. So, okay, from at Lord Beef. What up, Lord Beef? Good dude on Twitter. Any idea when Microsoft is going to start rolling out the whole double frame rate on some backwards compatible games thing? I hope soon, but I have no insight into that. But this is like the thing where with like, oh, Fallout 4 is locked to 30 frames per second. With this thing, we can double it and turn it to 60 automatically, and the developer doesn't even have to do anything. That's a really big deal, and I hope it comes sooner rather than later. But I wouldn't be surprised if that sort of thing gets derailed a little bit, while Microsoft is like, oh shit, our tools aren't where they need to be for developers, so we need to put our resources there, and then we'll come back to these side projects later. So that thing might get delayed a little bit if those teams touch one another a lot, where it's like that team that could be doing that is actually now going to be improving the tools that actually go after developers. It would kind of be a good thing if they could just put that off and get the tools up to a point where every game is running perfectly on this system, or at least as best as they can be, and then get those like pet projects going at a later date. I think that would be ideal. From at Mr. Megative, when does Metroid release for PS5? You could play it on your Xbox right now in dev mode, so yeah, just do that. From at Giggy-san, what's up, Giggy? How many songs will be included with Sephiroth? 1.5?
Yeah, it'll be One Winged Angel, and then half of Genova.
Let's see. There is a question from Evan P, and he says it might be better for how games make money, and I agree with that. So I might do a special episode just on your question.
So you don't want to hear my opinion on it? Is that what you're saying?
I'd love to hear Mike's musings on the financial aspect of Cyberpunk's awful launch. Massive pre-orders, but the stock price dipping, and reports today that they've already profited. A lot of factors there, Mike. Go.
They'll be fine.
Thank you for your insight, Mike Minotti. That's Cub reporter Mike Minotti taking on the big stories here, everybody.
That's right. I work for a venture capital website or enterprise, whatever the hell.
Whatever the hell. Changes every week, Mike. Let's see. From at Jameson Numbers, when do you think we have our next gaming event to look forward to? Also, what was your opinion on the Game Awards reveals? I thought the reveals were pretty good.
Yeah, I thought those are good. There's a lot of them, that's for sure. I mean, there's that digital BlizzCon event, right? We must be hearing something more about Diablo, those Diablo games, and Overwatch 2. I mean, again, that's very specific. I hope you care about Blizzard games. Aside from that, it's going to be kind of just digital events like Nintendo Directs and those, whatever PlayStation does. It's going to be stuff like that again for a while. It's going to almost be like summertime again, right?
Yep.
But it's going to be slower than that for a while here.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, people are going to take a break. People are excited to talk about games. The people that are making games, they want to be talking about stuff. But people also want a break after this year. So we'll get back to talking about games in a big way pretty soon. But after the new year, from at Justin, this is Sewerlink on Twitter. What do you want for Christmas? The Ryzen 5K is here. Where's your 5950X? And then he asked another question: what was your favorite book this year? But we'll answer that separately. My 5950X is in this machine right over here in my test bed, test bench. The 16 cores are going wild. That thing rules. That's a really great processor.
I would certainly like a new video card for Christmas if that's an option. Sure.
It's a CPU, Mike. So wow, embarrass me. Just embarrass me. Wow.
I don't. This isn't my gig. I don't know those things.
I'm really bad at recalling information like my favorite book from this year, especially one that released. But I'll say one that I think came out in the last couple of years. Michael Lewis's I think like The Fifth Fear or The Fifth. Something like that. It's basically a book about like all the things can go wrong if you have an incompetent government, and it starts talking about like how the Department of Energy is like this really mundane ministry within the United States government, but they're in charge of maintaining the civilian nuclear weapon arsenal, and how like you can't have someone just sort of waltz in and be like, oh, I don't believe government should be in charge of stuff in that job, which is kind of what's been happening what happened over the last 4 years. And it's a really scary book with a lot of really insightful observations about how many things can go wrong if stupid people are in charge. So I love all of Michael Lewis's books, and that one's very good. It's like almost like a really quick read. It's like a really long magazine article almost, but it's fantastic, and I highly recommend it. How about you, Mike? Any good books?
Yeah, man. It actually came out in 2018, but I read Rocket Men, which is about Apollo 8 and those astronauts. It was by Robert Kurson. Really, really good book. Very interesting mission. It kind of makes you a believer that this mission may have been just as important as landing on the moon with Apollo 11. just really well told, super fun, super interesting. Plus, like all three of those astronauts are still alive. So the author, got really good firsthand accounts from all of them and from a lot of other people involved in this thing. So, yeah, if you have any interest in, that NASA stuff or just like really good stories with like a bit of a science tint to it, but still, it's mostly just a fun narrative. Rocket Man was fantastic.
I meant to put that on my list the last time you told me about it, and yeah,
It's super good.
Yeah,
It's like it might be like it's funny because for so long I wasn't reading that much because I felt like I'm a nerd. I need to read fantasy and sci-fi, and I kind of realized like I don't like those books. I think a lot of them. I think I don't know why. I just like I remember when I didn't like Name of the Wind, which was that one that everyone freaked out about 10 years ago, and then I read it. I was like, I don't like this. This seems kind of stupid, and the characters are unlikable. I was like, maybe I don't need to read these things just because I think I'm obligated to. It turns out I'm much happier reading nonfiction, and that's what I've been doing.
Which actually is more nerdy, Mike. But I agree. That's
but it's nerdy like your friend's dad nerdy.
Which is like Civil War buff nerdy. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But it turns out for me, it's all Revolutionary War, and the last book I read was it March of the Black Snake or something? It was all about the wars against the Native American coalition in the 1790s, and a lot of it took place in Ohio. So I was interested in that. So that's what I am up to when I'm not wearing Mega Man t-shirts and admiring my Rocketeer statues. I swear I'm an adult.
All right, let's talk about some games. You want to give me your Dragon Quest update, and I'll talk about Cyberpunk?
I mean, sure, real quick, because I'm sure people would rather hear you talk about Cyberpunk. But I've started Dragon Quest 7 now. This is the remake they made for the 3DS a few years ago. What's interesting is that, so I played Dragon Quest 5 on my 3DS, but that's a DS game. This is a 3DS game. And I'm like, oh, this system does 3D without glasses. I almost forgot. That's neat. Right? I'm like,
you are the second person I've heard say that in like the last week. I think Phil from the Player One podcast said something very similar after using his 3DS for the first time in a couple of years. And people are like rediscovering that. You know what's the best 3D game on the 3DS is Outrun 3D. It is so good. It is so fantastic. They really nailed that.
Might be right. This was a neat technology. It's kind of weird. I was just not using anything at all now. There were some phones that were kind of doing it for a hot second there. And everyone's like,
there was
whatever.
The Amazon Fire phone before they did like Fire tablets was doing that. Yeah.
And everyone's like, whatever. It's gonna come back someday. Maybe. We'll see. But I mean, the thing I always heard about Dragon Quest 7 is that it has a very slow start, and that is true. It's like a couple hours before you get into your first battle, and like the 3DS version is apparently like
edited.
Like they edited, they quickened the pace a bit. Now I don't really mind because it's it's all fun and good, and now I am fighting stuff and I'm having a good time. I know this game has a job system, and I haven't even unlocked that yet. I'm about 5 hours in, so I got a ways to go before I really grok the whole experience. But I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, very good. Dragon Quest 11S came out on like Xbox and everything.
Yeah, it's Game Pass now.
Yeah, so I downloaded it on the Xbox Series S and started playing it again. And that's still like a surprisingly easy RPG to like get into.
I think it's the bet if you're looking for like a new RPG that is very classic in terms of being just a turn-based RPG, but very well done. And you don't necessarily want something that's quite as maybe weeby or intense as Persona 5. Like Dragon Quest 11 is totally the best one of that kind.
I think I might agree with that based on like, not liking many of those kinds of games at all.
Right.
And like finding
people may want to do the whole Persona 5 like calendar thing. That's a big part of those games, right?
Right. And I still find myself like really falling into that game anytime I pick it up. So yeah, definitely. Cyberpunk. I don't you like
why do you hate this game so much?
Okay, I was gonna say you want to ask me questions, so of course.
I'm reviews editor. Why I told you we can't give any popular games less than a 4 out of 5. Why did you directly disobey my instructions?
Because I'm a rebellious child, Mike. I'm gonna do what I want. I don't like I said early on, like when we were talking about it earlier this episode, I felt really confident about this score, the 3 out of 5, and I think I backed it up really well in the text. Like it is a pretty game. It is, and especially with RTX on and the DLSS to make sure that it's running at 60 frames per second. The art of the world really does make it pop a lot of times. Like there's this point where something really tragic happens, and you're in this apartment, and you walk out onto the balcony, and you look up at this like really forbidding uh city that just it has all of the attractiveness of like
Did you mean foreboding? Was that the word you were
foreboding
looking for?
foreboding, is that the word? Yeah,
That's the
foreboding.
word. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
But
Very foreboding. It's also forbidding, like you are.
Keep going.
It's Mike Minotti-esque, and it's telling me I can't give it a 3 out of 5. But it, it has like the there's that Jennifer Lawrence movie. I'm not gonna be able to remember, but her character talks about like the attractiveness of something that smells spoiled, something that's rotten but also sweet, and you want to keep smelling it because like there's this sweetness underneath the rottenness, and like pushing your nose, your sense of smell past that, there's like this weird thrill in your brain where you're like, oh, I can't stop smelling it. It's
I
like
believe that was X-Men Apocalypse.
yes, she's talking about her nail polish in X-Men Apocalypse. And the world of cyberpunk, all cyberpunk fiction has that quality to it, where it's like the neon signs and the advertisements, and like it's all built to attract you, but there's something really rotten about it, really spoiled. And this game nails that stuff. It's just there is a ton of it, and it's everywhere you look, so you can't escape it. But the moments where it's like at its most attractive, and yet you could still see all of that rottenness underneath it, is it's mind blowing. It's really impressive.
I guess I'm most interested to know like how. Because I think what I thought was going to be this is going to be a really open-ended kind of RPG, right? Like I almost thought that this would be kind of like that Prey 2 tech demo thing that I saw way back when that never ended up being a thing, right? Or
it is nothing like that.
It sounds like it may instead be more almost just kind of like a more open world version of those newer Deus Ex games.
Yeah, like it's like if Deus Ex was in GTA's world, is exactly where all of the openness is in how you approach combat, and that's just going to come down to how you spec your character. If you are good with guns, you're going to shoot people. If you're good with hacking, you're going to hack them. But that also doesn't feel very open, right? Because it's just how you spec your character. Now you can like change your mind and start putting more points into different stuff and open up more of the skill trees there. And the more you start doing stuff, the more skill like unlocks you get in that particular skill, very much like Skyrim or Fallout. But anything outside of that is just the world doesn't react to you. Not really. Like the game says, you're this badass now. Like you started off, you like wanted to be well known. Well, now you're well known. That number on your menu that says like, are you a legend? It's gone up. It keeps going. It's like 70-80% now. People think you're a legend. People talk about you. That's not reflected anywhere in the world when I'm walking around. I don't ever feel that. People just tell me that like when they call me up. And that's like, it's like that all of the game happens in either the quest menu in terms of like you picking what you're going to do next, or on the map, or fixer characters like quest characters setting things up for you by calling you. And the reason that stuff happens constantly is because otherwise there's nothing else happening in the world. You're not going to go stumble across this world and have an adventure that you're going to go tell your friends about. Oh, this crazy thing happened to me in Cyberpunk. The world is not set up to enable any of that. It is just about doing the missions, and the missions themselves are fun. They're well crafted. You're doing often very cool things, and many of them are set up like Ocean's 11 style heists, and they give you shards with data on them, and you put them in the back of your brain, and then all of the folders come up with as one does, and all the folders come up with all this planning that these people around you have done, and it's cool. But you have no say in it, no say in how any of it works. You're not coming up with any of the plans. It's not like, oh, I've learned how this world works, or how this like one building security works, and I'm going to come up with a plan and I'm going to execute it. It's not. No, it is always the plan is being presented to you, and then you get a little submission up on your map or up on the side of your screen here, and it says, all right, go to this point on the map. And then that'll trigger the next stage in this mission that you're doing. And so it's very much on rails. It's Cyberpunk, right? And it's supposed to be like taking the experience of the tabletop RPG, but it is like you have a very railroady GM, and they have set up this thing for you, and you're going to do exactly how they want you to do it. And that to me is inherently disappointing. especially like because we have had games that have enabled more freedom of expression in terms of exploring worlds, and it's made me want to like go back to like stuff like Skyrim and just play around in there. And I started playing that on Switch again last night because
Right,
I'm like,
Skyrim's a
I was
9-year-old
craving
game.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right, and even Witcher, I felt like had some like it was very narrative driven, but it felt like there was a lot of kind of interesting things you can do there in terms of role playing. I don't know.
No,
So
like yeah, I think The Witcher had a little bit more going on where like you could just stumble across the world and have and discover stuff and like get to Novigrad and do absolutely. But this game, it's just the NPCs that are walking around the world, the cops, they're there as far as like if you run over some NPCs, the cops are going to see it and they're going to chase after you, and then you're going to get the GTA sort of like the warning saying, "Oh, you have 2 stars."
I mean, you talk about heist and everything. I mean, it sounds more GTA than I was expecting, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're going to play this game, and you're going to pick out all of the ways that this game is just like clumped together from other games, and so it has like the GTA structure of its open world, and then like you're going to look at the map and you're like, this is very Assassin's Creed, and the hacking is exactly like Watch Dogs in terms of like the way it works in combat, and even like the brain dance sections are just the Batman investigation scenes, and there's nothing new, and that I'm not one that like thinks that needs to be like, oh, I'm going to dock this game for not doing something new. It's just it is very noticeable how not new it is, and it's very noticeable how it's taking stuff from other games and not doing it quite as well. It's not a cohesive whole. It just feels like, okay, yeah, when you are on the really good missions and you're having a good time with like very cool characters, the game is at its best, and then everything else around it is just sort of was slapped there to make sure that part could work. And if someone like looked in another direction, like, yeah, there is stuff you could do over here. Like there's races, like if you want to go race in an open world, like there's someone's going to call you up, hey, I need you to do street races for me. Like that's there, but I can't imagine anyone thinking like that's how they want to spend their time in this world.
This is a tangent. You had me thinking about this. Did Watch Dogs Legion flop?
I don't know.
It was not on that list, and it came out October 29th. Right? So shouldn't it have charted in the top 20 at least?
I think so. It should have. Yeah, maybe it flopped.
Maybe it flopped.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It really seems like no one talked about that game very much, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was one that's like, unless people are raving about that game, let's just wait for Cyberpunk is kind of what that game felt like, right? So
yeah,
I think it's kind of where, yeah, and honestly, I think that game, definitely has a more reactive open world than Cyberpunk, but it doesn't mean that I necessarily think it's much better.
Right, but it's kind of a lot less refined than a lot of other ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, its missions are not as good.
Right, and then I guess that like we should talk about the bugs. It's really buggy. It's really buggy. And that doesn't usually bother me. That's something that I ignore in a lot of games. I think I gave Assassin's Creed Unity a 91 out of 100 when we had.
That's right. You liked Assassin's Creed Unity.
I really liked it. And the thing was, if I saw bugs in that game, I don't remember. And even if it like crashed, I don't remember. I just remember having a really good time with that game. This one, like I'm never gonna there was like dozens of bugs. It's the buggiest game I've ever played. And that has this weird effect where it's like you begin questioning like the validity of everything that's happening. You like if the game feels weird or hinky in any small way, you're like, is this a bug? And and I think like my character couldn't jump during one mission. And I'm like, is the game taking my jump control away from me because it doesn't want me to jump in this scene for a particular narrative reason, or is this a bug? And that sort of thinking happens all the time with this game.
So I was like, oh, is this working as intended, or do I need to restart the game?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's like, and for me, if I start thinking that way, I think a lot of other people who are like more sensitive to these things are going to be like, this game is so busted, I cannot enjoy it at all. And I think that even on PC, you're going to feel that way, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly feel like, man, if I want to play this game, do I want to play it right now? I don't really think so. I mean, unless I really thought that it was Game of the Year, I don't know. Are you surprised that the average score is like hovering at 90? Do you think?
Yeah.
Are you surprised that other people are higher on it than you? Because I mean, again, I haven't played it, but like all your points seem good and justified. And just from like, and again, it's like that Last of Us thing where, again, the Metacritic was in the 90s and it came out and like I heard all these really good valid reasons why it wasn't that good. And I found myself agreeing with a lot of those and didn't necessarily super enjoy that game myself. So yeah, I guess I wonder what you think.
So my guess here is, you know, it's hard to like speak for other reviewers, but I think that
But I'm making you do it anyways.
yes, and I'm happy to do it because of course I will. I think that many people do come to games not they don't expect that open reactive world. They want a good game with a good story and good characters, and that's what this game has. And if you're someone who is just going to stick to the missions, and there's a lot of people who want to play games like that, and they don't want to like be forced to find their own fun or even encouraged to find their own fun, because that's not how they have fun. They just want to have a cool like cybercrime thriller adventure story, and that's exactly what this is. And it's actually a really good crime thriller story. And so if that's kind of like what, like if that's what you want, that's what you're getting, and you're going to come away thinking this is like a really solid experience. And the bugs are detrimental to that, but they're like, you know, eventually many of them will get cleaned up, I hope, right? And that's kind of the thinking that leads to people giving a really high score. I do know that I really like games like Skyrim that encourage that. They are happy if you never play the you know the main quest, and you just stumble across quests by going from one page to the next.
In Skyrim was awful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like, and I still, the things I love about that game is like just the world is just there waiting for you to come interact with it. And this game is you cannot do that at all.
But Skyrim had like the whole like second main quest where you're supposed to pick one of those two sides. I just never did. I'm like, fuck both those guys. They both seem awful. I just never did it.
Right.
Like, whatever.
Yeah, and it's like I think like you know, smaller RPGs are like very much about like, no, we are going to let you kill any character you want right now. I think Outer Worlds did that. Like you can kill anyone. And this game's very much like, oh no, you can't even, like you could point your gun at this person, but we're not going to let you pull the trigger.
Yeah,
and
you can't shoot Keanu Reeves, huh?
Yeah, but you can't shoot like. There's a ton of people you can't shoot, and it's like really surprising how few people you can shoot. I think that part of that, it's like, again, like, wait, is that just them worried about bugs? If I kill this character, is the whole game going to fall apart? I think that might be what that is. But that is to the game's severe detriment, in my opinion. And I think that is specific to my tastes. And I do think that there is a broader audience out there that is like, no, just point me to the fun. Point me to the fun thing that you built for me. Point me to the roller coaster. I want to ride the roller coaster that you spent millions of dollars making for me. And if that is you, they made a really good one of those for the most part. And I think a lot of people will be happy with it. But to me, it's like, I think there is that contingent of people out there that maybe are going to expect more or want something different. And if you want that thing that is more open, more reactive, you're going to be disappointed. And I'm happy to be the one to tell you that. Like, I want to make sure that you are aware that there is some good stuff there, but for the most part, it's kind of, there's a lot of disappointment as well. So yeah, just be mindful. Mike, I think I'm ready to wrap this up though. How about you?
Yeah. Let's get out of here. That was I feel like next week there won't be too much to talk about. I think, right, like Game Awards was last big thing. Now it's winding down.
What's
that game you want me to play?
Either play SnowRunner or Hard Space Shipbreaker. Either one.
Yeah. Well, to be clear, I'm not touching any of them till you beat Ori, but sure.
That's fair. That's totally fair. And now that I beat Cyberpunk, I have time again. So okay, sounds good. Mike,
did you really beat it though? Did you do every side mission? Did you play through with every different build? Did you do?
Absolutely played more of the game than I did, which is, it's like, I think like at the point that she was like talking on video that she had played like 70 hours or something like that, and I'm like, guys, I played like 35 hours. You guys are being absurd. But of course they are. Of course they are.
I mean, it's completely reverse engigered, and it's obviously
working backwards.
Is,
yes.
right? Yeah,
yep, absolutely reverse engineer is exactly.
I got a ton of hate tweets because I defended her, and it really ruined my week for a bit. I'm like, man, this is nothing compared to what like
she's actually getting.
Other people actually to do. It's awful. It's terrible. Having a wave of anime Twitter accounts with just 2 followers calling you a simp or whatever the new thing is these days.
Who even are you? It's like, okay, all right, let's just.
Yeah, someone asked you, who even are you? And they had like 1 follower.
Yeah, that was very good. Yeah, that was all right. This is beyond parody. I don't know.
It sucks.
Mike. Yep, it sucks. Let's have people find out where they can find you on the internet.
Find me on Twitter at Tokoto. Please interact with me there if you are not going to call me a simp. It's TOLKO. Is a simp just the new white knight?
I think
Is
so.
that
Yeah.
the same thing? I feel like there's an added like
Well,
gross
it's like,
sexual component to it.
you also like give them money. Like, yeah.
Oh well. Okay.
I mean, yeah, whatever.
All right then.
All right, and I'm Jeff Grubb on Twitter. How Games Make Money is my other podcast. Did you tell people about 90s Disney?
Go to 90sdisney.com, my 90s Disney podcast. Last episode's about Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, it was a good one. All right, yeah, I'm gonna hit this button. It's gonna play a little bit of music, and then we'll have to get on out of here. Okay, so Game of the Year stuff's coming up soon, Mike. We really do gotta kind of figure that out. What do you think?
I feel like it's gonna be an absolute mess figuring out the site's Game of the Year, because I think we all have different games we care about.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those ones where it's like our like number 3 game is gonna like have to like be the.
I need to play Crusader Kings 3, because if it's good, part of me's just like, I feel like we always make Jason do what we want. Maybe we'll just say if Crusader Kings 3 is good, maybe that's Game of the Year. I don't know.
The 3 hours I played of it, I'm like, oh, this game is actually really good.
Yeah,
so
thanks for the €1 Metal Fly.
Yeah, thank you for that. All right, let's get out of here, everybody. Thanks for listening. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Bye.